Welcome back to the Shoegazing 93 channel, the channel that celebrates itself. And today I'm not going to delay anything, I'm going to get straight into it. And this is a continuation of the Were They Shoegaze series, where we look at contentious artists that are kind of on the fringes of the shoegaze dream pop genre. And we kind of debate, well, I kind of debate to myself. This is why I want someone to come on Zoom with me and actually debate it out with me, because I'm kind of doing it as a solo project here, which doesn't really give a fair debate all the time. So yeah, this is the series where I debate with myself whether a band kind of fits the category of shoegazing or not. Today I'm going to go Radiohead. And I think that this will start a flame war in the comments. This is always a contentious one. Plenty of controversial opinions about this one. So Radiohead, yeah, of course. The Oxford band formed in Abingdon, Oxfordshire in 1985. They were like on and off kind of thing with, they were practicing as on a Friday was the original name, and they went off to uni. The members went to different universities, and every sort of holiday they went back to Oxford and practiced together. That's how the story goes. And then they finally released their first album in 1993, Pablo Honey, and they had to wait like 8 years, 85, yeah, like 8 years just to get her first album officially out there, because of the whole, Tom York going to Exeter Uni and Ed O'Brien went to Manchester Uni. Johnny Greenwood studied something else, and I think Colin and Phil Selway, they studied other things in like different places in the country. So that's part of the delay, I think. And really interesting to hear the old On a Friday demos, because they sounded more like U2, REM, the Pixies. Those were the 80s bands that they were listening to, the Smiths as well. But yeah, there's like Mr. B, there's like an early song that's like a U2 cover basically. It's kind of a bit of Bob Dylan in there as well, I feel, with that song, in the verses especially. But yeah, and then 93, Pablo Honey. It's more of a grunge record, I would say. It's like Bush and Swerve Driver, kind of, like a British band trying to put on American accents and sort of have that kind of messy guitar tone and anti solos and like anti big. What do you call it? I'm not a hair expert. What's the name? But not the big teased hair and all that, and anti corporate rock is basically what I'm trying to say. And I mean, there's effects on it, and there are occasional moments. I think Blowouts, the last song on Pablo Honey, that's definitely shoegaze inspired. If you listen to the outro, Ed O'Brien is providing, I think it's Ed, he is in the live performances anyway. He's performing this reverb part, which I think he might be using a rack effect for. It might be like a Yamaha FX500 or an Elisa's unit. But, if you watch like Live at the Astoria from 94, you can clearly see he reaches back like towards his amp, and there's like a unit. He like presses a button on a unit, and then that whole slow dive kind of sound kicks in. And that's going on while Johnny Greenwood's doing the whole kind of Dinosaur Jr., Jay Mascis wild guitar solo. And that's it, and that explains it really. You got Johnny Greenwood doing this kind of Pixies, what's he called, Thompson, isn't it, the lead guitarist in the Pixies? Something like Dan Thompson or something like that. Something Thompson. And there's Jay Mascis in there, Thurston Moore. He's doing all of that kind of grimy, like grungy guitar soloing, the whole sort of messy feedback kind of thing. Ed O'Brien is doing most of the textures, but yeah, like Blowout is the only sort of hint. Trying to think. Stop Whispering has some nice like chorus effects in the verse, but ultimately it's a grunge record, isn't it? It's it's going towards the Bush 16 Stone kind of realm, especially with Creep. Obviously that's like little that's like the equivalent of Little Things by Bush. That's their big like American radio hits. And then you've got the Bends, where I think this is where it gets more contentious. There are shoegaze elements here for sure. Planet Telex. I think things get a bit more British on the Bends. That's the key thing. So there's a bit of Britpop, there's a bit of shoegaze. Planet Telex, that's the most telling sign that they are embracing the shoegaze element with the whole like tremolo guitar. Johnny Greenwood made his own tremolo effect. I mean, that's pretty shoegaze, isn't it? To make your own effects pedal. Let's be honest. Very hard to do as well. All the soldering you got to do and stuff. The diodes and the bucket brigade stuff you got to know about. Transistors. Yeah, it's a bit beyond me, to be honest. But like the Bends, yeah, it's obviously got a bit of Britpop, like High and Dry is, dare I say it, it's a little bit Oasis-y, like it's a bit of like Wonderwall in there, I guess, but this is going to cause a bit of controversy now, but you know what I'm saying, it's that kind of the sort of Britpop ballad kind of style, it's acoustic guitar, just using like simple chords, C, like open chord, cowboy chords, as Rick Beato calls them, C, G, D, E, that kind of thing. It's E, A, and F sharp minor, I think, isn't it? Pretty much High and Dry for most of it. Because I remember playing that a lot myself, and playing it on guitar and Fake Plastic Trees. I played a lot. I could play most of that album. It's not really that sophisticated at all. Actually, it's a lot of just it's a lot of like normal time signature, open chords, normal chord progressions about it, and then obviously OK Computer would take that much further, and that being more experimental with like Let Down having a different time signature, and the crazy playing of Paranoid Android, that's very different time signature again, but also very complex playing on that as well. So basically the Bends is like, Shoegaze has been and gone by then. That's like 95, right? March 95. So it's already been and gone. I mean, it was even been and gone by the time Pablo Honey came out. But I think the Bends is them sort of, they're getting more mature and they're realising actually how influential like My Bloody Valentine was. And they're looking back at, and Ride, obviously came from the same city as them, Oxford. So I think they're sort of reevaluating themselves and thinking, actually, there was a lot of innovation here, in the in the UK. Why are we doing this American impressionist kind of thing? Why are we pretending to be Yanks? And I think Britpop and shoegaze, there's elements. I mean, when I say Britpop, it's not like they're singing about drinking cups of tea and like drinking lager and sort of going out, trying to find birds and stuff. Like that's definitely never been Radiohead, but Britpop in the sense that it's like sort of simple open chord acoustic playing, and it's got a British feel, but for that sort of relaxed kind of gently overdriven guitar and a bit of jangle in there. And Tom York's got more of a, it's not not super British, but it's more of a neutral accent, I would say. The kind of the usual sort of singing voice when a British person sings, that kind of Anglo American sort of in between kind of voice. And it's just the way the vowels are accented and stuff. So yeah, the Bends is a great record, one of the best of the 90s, that's for sure. Not shoegaze, but like songs like Sulk and that, great tremolo effects there by Johnny Greenwood. Bones is another one with Johnny Greenwood's homemade effects pedal on. You get there's not so much reverb on there though, and delay. And obviously Tom York's voice is quite forward, it's still quite punky. My Iron Lung, for example. My Iron Lung, that's got the EBO by Ed O'Brien, and the manipulation with the tremolo arm. It's got clever ideas that, shoegaze artists would do. It reminds me of Chapter House, Come Heaven a bit. There's a song Chapter House did called Come Heaven where they're using the EBO to create this dark atmosphere. So yeah, they are embracing effects, and then OK Computer comes along. That's even more lavish than the bends, like I said, with the different time signatures and stuff. Shoegaze is well and truly gone. Britpop's on its last legs even, so even the kind of stripped back version of shoegaze, which, you could say Britpop is in a way, stripped back sonically, I mean, but not, it's more forward and has more attitude in terms of vocals, obviously, and lyrical content. But, sonically, it's like a stripped back version of shoegaze in a way. And, and the OK Computer comes at the end of that. And but they go the other way. They go into this more experimental way. And there's shoegaze influence again. I mean, the reverb on Paranoid Android, Johnny's guitar in the verses, the Climb Up the Walls. I'm not quite sure what instrument that is. That might be synths going on. But either way, that's trippy as hell. That's it's Pink Floyd. It's Pink Floyd, isn't it? On OK Computer, it's bits of the Beatles, like with Karma Police being a rip-off of Sexy Sadie in some people's eyes. It's not quite shoegaze though, is it? It's not like Tom's voice has never been buried. It's always been out there. Whether you like it or not, it's always been there, like, with his vibrato voice and the lyrical. They're far too sincere to be shoegaze. That's the bottom line. That they can never truly be shoegaze because Tom York is like a sincere voice. He's clearly expressing his feelings in a very straight, direct way, not the impressionistic shoegaze way. And I think they're very sincere. There's political messages in OK Computer. There's predictions about the future, isn't there? There's the AI predictions. There's about industry, becoming sort of taking over jobs, and the whole robot fitter, happier thing is like sort of that's to do with that. Electioneering, that's the big political one, isn't it? And anxiety about the 21st century and. No, they're more like Pink Floyd in that sense, but they've got something to say, but they do sonically enclose you in some kind of atmosphere for sure, yeah. But I can see, they are like shoegaze adjacent in the sonic kind of way, but in terms of the sort of messaging and the way they're not impressionistic, it's more direct and punk and more clever as well, actually, in terms of chord progressions. You wouldn't get Ride sort of doing 7/4 time and well, I don't know what Let Down is. It's like, I don't know what time signature. It's like, it's not 3/4/6/8. That's the waltzy kind of one. That's the second most simple one to 4/4 in my opinion. 3/4/6/8. Just say that right? Yeah. But yeah, it's more clever than shoegaze, really. Apart from MBV, I mean, that's clever because Kevin Shields is kind of weaving in between notes, and that whole kind of like the wavelength kind of thing, manipulation he does is incredible. That is genius. Juxtaposition of tones he's able to create is genius, but compared to most shoegaze, Radiohead is more complex. Some shoegaze is like, that's just open chords, your cowboy chords, quoting Rick Beato once again, played with shit tons of reverb and stuff. Sorry for the swearing, but You know, this is a rock and roll channel after all, isn't it? Really. So that's what I think. So our Radioheads. I suppose I've only spoken about 3 of their albums. That's only the 90s output. And then obviously, you know, Kid A is more electronic, and Amnesiac is, and then they get the guitars back in for 2003's Hail to the Thief, and then In Rainbows. But yeah, there's always been a shoegaze aspect, but it's just not the main thing. You wouldn't call them a shoegaze band. But you know, the stuff that Ed O'Brien does on the later records in the 2000s and 2010s, you know, I can see that he's still embracing the shoegaze a lot more than the rest of the band is. So I think, so to answer the question, yeah, I'm not going to go too in depth about King of Limbs and you know, all the other ones after, Burn the Witch and Moon-Shaped Pool and that. But like I said, you know, there are some elements, you know, and Ed and Johnny get on the guitars, but overall, to answer the question, are Radiohead a shoegaze band? Were they shoegaze? No, but they're a blooming great band, maybe the greatest of the 90s. And I think anyone who says that they are, I think they've got a valid point. So yeah, that's the episode, guys. See you again. I have to think of a new artist. I got one in mind, actually. So see you guys. Have a good day. Peace out.